Welcome to Karma Chronicles. Please like the video and subscribe. Let's begin.
I woke up with a dry mouth and a pit in my stomach. The air was hot, even with the fan spinning overhead. I was in Jess's spare bedroom, the one with the ugly cactus quilt and the squeaky ceiling vent. My wedding dress hung on the closet door like it was mocking me. I reached for my phone. One new message. We won't be there. You're making a mistake. That was it. No love, Dad. No sorry. Just a sentence that hit like a cinder block to the chest. I stared at the screen, reread the words, and then set the phone face down on the nightstand like it had burned me. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there with my jaw locked and my hands clenched in the blanket, thinking, they really did it. They actually didn't come. Jess was already in the kitchen. I could hear the hiss of the coffee pot and the soft clink of mugs. I walked in slow, barefoot, still in my tank top and sleep shorts. She turned around, saw my face, and froze. They didn't come, did they? I shook my head once. That was all I could manage. Jess crossed the room in 2 steps and pulled me into her chest. Screw them, she whispered. You don't need a single one of them. I hugged her back, but it was stiff. I was trying not to fall apart. I'd spent my whole damn life holding it together for appearances. For them. I wasn't about to break down now, not over a text. An hour later, the little chapel was buzzing with people I barely knew. Locals from Cole's world. Ranchers with weathered hands, diner owners in pressed flannel, a few older EMTs with thick mustaches and tired eyes. Outside, it was a dry Arizona morning. Heat shimmered off the parking lot. The chapel smelled like dust, lilies, and burnt coffee. I could hear someone tuning a guitar up front. Jess helped me with my dress, clipped my veil, and squeezed my hand before the doors opened. I took one deep breath and stepped forward. My heels hit the aisle carpet with dull thuds. Everyone turned, but my eyes locked on the front pews. 3 full rows marked with cheap white cards that said, reserved, all empty. Nobody had even touched the programs we'd left on the seats. I heard whispers float through the chapel. Where's her family? Didn't her dad own all those dealerships? Not even the mom came. I didn't flinch. I didn't pause. I walked forward, head high, heart shattered in my chest. And I kept walking, straight toward the only person who'd shown up for me without conditions. I used to think if I did everything right, they'd see me. Like actually see me, not just the version they wanted to parade around at country clubs or church brunches. We grew up in Scottsdale, in a stucco house with 2 staircases and a perfectly manicured lawn. My dad owned 7 car dealerships, Harrington Auto, and he treated our family like an extension of his brand. Polished, sharp, marketable. We were expected to look the part, act the part, and keep our mouths shut when it counted. My older brother Bradley was groomed from birth to take over the business. He wore blazers in high school and called my dad sir in meetings. My younger sister Haley got pushed into beauty pageants before she could spell eyeliner. She was good at it too, blonde, soft-voiced, and obedient as hell. Me? I didn't fit the mold. I hated lip gloss and small talk. I liked taking things apart, asking hard questions, running drills. I kept my room spotless and my mouth full of opinions. At 18, instead of following the script and applying to business schools, I enrolled in the State Law Enforcement Academy. I'll never forget the look on my dad's face when I told him over breakfast. He paused mid-chew, blinked, then leaned back in his chair like he'd been hit with a bad smell. A cop? He said, like I'd told him I was joining a circus. Yeah, I said. It's what I want. He snorted. You'll come crawling back when you realize no one respects a woman with a badge. You think any man's gonna want that? A gun on your hip and dirt under your nails? I don't care what a man wants, I said. I care what I want. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. You'll figure it out. You're just having a phase. It wasn't a phase. I graduated, passed my exam, and started doing the kind of work that mattered. But in my family, nothing I did ever counted. At holidays, Bradley got praised for stepping into real leadership. Haley showed off her tiaras and talked about auditions in LA. I talked about domestic calls and DUI arrests and got silence in return. One Christmas, I mentioned pulling a woman and her toddler out of a flipped car. My mom smiled politely and offered me more potatoes. 2 minutes later, my dad was going on about how Bradley closed a new fleet contract and everyone clapped like he'd cured cancer. Haley once said, It's just not what people want to hear during dinner, you know? Then she tilted her head like she felt sorry for me. It got worse over time. I'd walk into the room and conversations would stop. At my cousin's wedding, my dad introduced me to his business partner as our wild card. Not our daughter, not officer, just a joke in heels. I started showing up less. Skipped brunches, stopped answering the group chat. My dad accused me of being dramatic. My mom said, "Just don't talk about work so much, honey." But I wasn't going to lie to make them comfortable. I didn't need their applause. I just wanted some damn respect. And every year that passed, it got clearer. They'd never give it. So when I met Cole, I didn't ask for anyone's damn opinion. It was one of those dry, brittle afternoons where the sky feels too big and everything smells like sagebrush and sweat. A fundraising barbecue out past Mesa for the Volunteer Search and Rescue Unit. I was off shift, still in uniform, eating ribs off a paper plate when this guy walked up with a folding table tucked under one arm and a medical kit under the other. He wore dusty boots, faded jeans, and a Navy EMT tee that had seen better days. His forearms were scratched up, his face was sunburned, but his eyes, steady, calm. No performance, no fake charm. Just a guy who knew how to keep people breathing. He nodded at my badge. "Sheriff's Department? Yeah? You fire or medical?" He grinned. "Bit of both." "I'm Cole." We sat on the tailgate of someone's pickup and talked for 2 straight hours about rollover crashes, wildfires, late-night dispatch calls, about what it felt like to save someone when no one else could, and how sometimes that wasn't enough. He wasn't trying to impress me, he just got it. I remember thinking, finally, someone who doesn't flinch when things get messy. 3 weeks later, I brought him home for a Sunday BBQ. I knew it was a bad idea before we even pulled into the driveway, but he deserved to see the full picture. The house looked like a magazine cover, down to the waxed driveway and manicured hedges. I watched him glance up at the fake stone columns and exhale through his nose like he was bracing for a hit. My dad was at the grill, wearing a golf polo and Ray-Bans. He looked Cole up and down like he was assessing a trade-in. "EMT, huh?" he said, tonguing a burger without looking away. "You plan on sticking with that?" Cole nodded. "Yes, sir. Been doing it 7 years now." Volunteer fire on the side. Dad smirked. "So, kind of like a glorified truck driver with a stethoscope?" Cole's posture didn't change, but I saw his jaw tighten. "Actually, sir, I've delivered 3 babies on the side of the road. Pulled 2 kids out of floodwaters last year. We do more than drive." Bradley showed up 10 minutes later with his latest watch and his 3rd IPA. When Cole mentioned patching up a hiker who'd fallen down a ravine, Brad laughed. "Damn, sis. Really out here dating beneath your pay grade, huh?" I dropped my fork. "Say that again," I said. He raised his hands. "Kidding. Kidding. Don't shoot." Haley didn't say anything, just smiled, that soft, polite smile that meant she was already texting someone about it under the table. Dinner dragged. My mom kept trying to change the subject to real estate. My dad asked Cole if he'd ever thought about going back to school to level up. Cole kept it respectful. He answered every question, even when they were full of shade, but I could feel him checking out by the end. He barely touched his food. He shook hands when we left, but he didn't fake a smile. We didn't speak until we were back on the road, city lights fading in the rear view. He finally said, "That man doesn't want to see who I really am." I looked over. He wasn't angry, just quiet, like something in him had gone still. "I'm sorry," I said. "That was worse than I expected." "It's not your fault," he replied, "but I'm not going to wear a mask to impress anybody." I nodded, heart pounding. "Good. I wouldn't want you to." I don't know what I was hoping for. Maybe a miracle where my family saw past their own damn noses. But sitting there in the passenger seat, watching Cole drive with one hand on the wheel and his face set like stone, I knew exactly what they saw. They saw a man who worked with his hands, not a resume. And to them, that was all that mattered. But to me, it was the reason I couldn't stop thinking about him. That same week, I pulled a dead girl out of a trailer while her toddler screamed in the next room. Meth everywhere, no food. The baby had been alone for at least a day. I went home numb, didn't even shower, just sat on the porch steps with my boots still on and my head in my hands. Cole didn't say anything at first. He sat beside me, quiet like he always was when I couldn't find the words. Just his arm over my shoulders, fingers rubbing slow circles into the back of my neck. Then he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small beat-up box. No buildup, no speech. He said, "I've been carrying this around for 2 weeks, waiting for the right time. But honestly, right now is as real as life gets." I looked down and saw a simple silver band with a small diamond. Nothing flashy, just honest. He kept going. "I know your world's heavy. I'm not going to make it lighter, but I'll carry it with you. If you'll let me." I said yes before he could even finish. There wasn't a doubt in my body. It hit me like clean air after a wildfire. This is it. This is the life I want. We told my family the following Sunday. Brunch at their place. Cinnamon rolls and faked politeness. I held out my hand halfway through the meal and said, "Cole and I are getting married." Dead silence. My dad was the first to react. He pushed back his chair and looked at me like I'd announced I was joining a cult. "Are you serious?" "Yes," he snorted. "You're really gonna throw your future away for a guy who drives an ambulance and lives in a 2-bedroom rental?" I held his gaze. "I'm throwing away nothing." Haley didn't even lift her eyes. She just muttered, "Shocker," under her breath and took another sip of her mimosa. My mom, God, my mom, just sat there with her lips pressed so tight I thought she might snap. She didn't say a word, didn't ask about the ring, didn't ask how he proposed, just stared at her plate like it was too painful to look up. Bradley tried to joke, "At least invite us to the shotgun wedding." "I want to see what kind of tux the EMT rents." That was it. I stood up, shoved my chair back so hard it scraped the tile. "You know what? I came here hoping maybe, just maybe, you'd surprise me. Maybe one of you would give a shit that I'm happy." My dad started to respond, but I cut him off. "Don't. I'm done begging for your approval." I walked out without another word. My hands were shaking, heart pounding, dress soaked at the back with sweat. Cole was waiting in the truck. He saw my face, didn't even ask, just put the AC on full blast and handed me a bottle of water. We sat there in silence for a minute. Then he said, "You deserve a family that values who you are, not what you bring to a table." I blinked hard, holding back the tears. "Guess I'll have to build one from scratch." He reached over and squeezed my knee. "Then we start with 2. That moment right there, him in his old hoodie, hand on my leg, not trying to fix it, just being there, that's when I knew I wasn't just marrying a man, I was finally choosing me. The next morning, I was standing behind the chapel doors in my dress, sweat already clinging to my back, heart thudding like a warning bell. Jess was beside me, fixing my veil for the 3rd time, eyes darting toward the crowd. "Place is packed," she whispered, like standing room only, packed. I nodded, jaw tight. I didn't need a head count. I needed to walk. The doors creaked open. The chapel smelled like heat, wildflowers, and perfume clinging to polyester. Cheap folding chairs were crammed into every row. People fanned themselves with programs. Thrift store lanterns lined the aisle, some missing glass, all glowing soft. I stepped forward, and just like that, the whispers started. "Where's her family? Didn't her dad own half the dealerships? Not even the mom came? Let him talk." On the left side of the room sat a retired fire captain who once pulled coal out of a collapsed shed. 2 rows up, I spotted a waitress from the diner who said Cole helped deliver her baby during a storm. Behind her sat a kid in a suit 3 sizes too big. His mom once called Cole when the boy got trapped under an ATV. He stayed with that kid until the helicopter landed. This was Cole's world. These were his people, and today, they were mine too. I walked slow, not dragging my feet, not rushing, just moving steady toward him, my anchor in a sea of sweat and whispers and wildflower perfume. Cole stood at the altar in a gray vest and dark jeans. His tie was crooked, his hands were shaking, but his eyes, rock solid. Jess stepped aside. He reached out, and I put my hand in his without hesitation. We didn't write fancy vows, no poetry, no fluff, just truth. He went first. "I don't have much to give you. No stocks, no trust fund, no family name people recognize, but I'll never walk away. I'll show up, bloody, bruised, burned out. I'll still show up." Then it was my turn. I don't need diamonds or speeches or people clapping on Facebook. I just need someone who fights beside me, not against me. Someone who doesn't flinch when things get hard. Our efficient, a volunteer chaplain from Cole's fire unit, pronounced us husband and wife. No organ music, no violin quartet. Just loud applause, a few cheers, and someone crying in the 3rd row. As we turned to face the crowd, I caught a glimpse of the front pews, 3 rows untouched. Programs still sitting there, folded, seats perfectly aligned, not a single crease in the cushions. For a second, that old sting tried to rise up, but I didn't feel shame anymore. I felt clarity. They'd chosen silence, distance, reputation over real love. But these people, these dusty-booted, sunburned, big-hearted people, they showed up. They brought deviled eggs and crock pots. They hung paper lanterns till midnight. One guy from Cole Station repaired the busted AC unit that morning in his dress clothes. They didn't ask what my last name was or who my father was. They just loved us. We walked down the aisle, hand in hand, as someone from the back yelled, "Let's eat!" Outside, tables were covered with mismatched tablecloths and paper plates. Kids ran barefoot through the gravel lot. Someone was playing country music from the back of a pickup. No ballroom, no gold chargers, no Instagram photographer. But it felt real. It felt earned. It felt like ours. After the cake was picked over and the potluck trays had been cleared, Cole tugged at his collar and said, "I need air." I followed him out back, behind the chapel, where the light from the lanterns didn't quite reach. The gravel crunched under our boots. The wind was soft, still warm, brushing against my veil like it was trying to whisper something I wasn't ready to hear. Cole leaned against his rescue truck, which still had dried mud on the tires. The sun had dipped low, casting long shadows across the ground. His shirt was wrinkled, vest dusty from hugging half the damn town, and he was holding the one thing I asked him to bring, his service medallion plaque. He shifted it in his hands like it didn't belong to him. "I feel weird carrying this thing around," he muttered. "You earned it," I said. "Hold still." He didn't pose. He didn't fake a smile. He just stood there, tired, steady, real. I stepped back and took the photo. Cole, in dusty dress clothes, backlit by sunset, standing beside the truck that had seen more blood and grit than anyone in that chapel could imagine. His name etched on the plaque, his expression unreadable. Not pride, not anger, just quiet dignity. I didn't add a filter. I didn't crop anything out. I sent it straight into the family group chat. No caption, just the photo. Then I put my phone away and joined him at the bumper, where we sat in silence and watched the desert turn dark. An hour passed, then 2. Still nothing. We were halfway through packing up when my phone buzzed on the folding table. I didn't rush to check it, but something told me. They saw it. The first message was from my mom. Just one line. "I'm crying." I didn't know next came Haley. We didn't know. We should have been there. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering. Cole came up behind me. "You okay?" I showed him the messages. He didn't say anything, just nodded once and went back to untying the lantern cords. Then the phone rang. "Dad!" I let it ring once, twice, 3 times. Then I picked up. He sounded older, smaller. "I saw the picture," he said. I waited. "I was wrong," he added, barely above a whisper. "We were wrong. About him, about you." I cut him off, not angry, not yelling, just done pretending. "Yes," I said. "You were." He was quiet on the other end. I didn't offer comfort. I didn't make it easy. After a beat, he said, "You look happy." "I am," I said. Then hung up. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just stood there holding the phone, feeling the weight shift in my chest. It wasn't closure. It wasn't forgiveness. But it was something. Cole came over, his hands full of lanterns. "You good?" I nodded. Yeah. Finally?" And we finished cleaning up. Cole hated attention. He would have skipped the hero's picnic if I hadn't made a face when he suggested it. "It's just food and awards," I said. "You've earned your hot dog and plastic trophy like the rest of us." He rolled his eyes, but I caught the ghost of a smile. The event was held at the rec center's backlot. Folding tables, lukewarm lemonade, kids with face paint, and the same 3 cover bands rotating through CCR and Garth Brooks. The kind of thing where the whole town showed up, even if they didn't know why. Cole wore clean jeans and the least wrinkled shirt he owned. I wore a plain cotton dress and boots that didn't match. We blended in just fine. They started calling names right after the barbecue judging. EMTs, volunteer firefighters, the high school principal. Small town stuff. Deserved, but expected. Then I heard mine. "And finally," the mayor said, voice booming through the crackling speaker, "Deputy Harrington for her exceptional response and composure in the Walker incident last month." I froze. Cole nudged me. "Go." I walked up, took the plaque, nodded once, and got off the stage before the clapping even faded. No speech, just grit. Then the mayor stepped back to the mic. And one more. "This one's not on the program," people murmured. I turned to look at Cole, but he was already standing stiff. "This town knows service," the mayor said, "but some folks go beyond the job. They don't just clock in, they show up. Every storm, every fire, every time someone screams and doesn't know who else to call." He turned toward Cole. "I'm talking about EMT Cole Denton, not just a first responder, a man who saved lives, built homes, and kept this town breathing in dark hours." The crowd erupted. It wasn't polite applause. It was loud, real. People stood up, cheered, whistled. I saw a woman dab her eyes with a napkin. A boy lifted his little sister onto his shoulders to see better. Cole didn't move. "Go," I whispered. "It's you. You earned this?" He shook his head once, eyes wide. Then someone from the back yelled, "Come on, Cole!" And that broke the dam. He walked up slow, no speech. Just a nod, a tight smile. The mayor handed him a framed certificate and clapped him on the back like a proud uncle. I was still clapping when I saw them. Back row, off to the side. My family. My mom, hands clasped tight in front of her. Haley in designer sunglasses, arms crossed. Bradley, bored out of his mind. And my dad, standing perfectly still, face unreadable. They hadn't said they were coming. They hadn't responded to the text invite, but they came. After the ceremony, Cole and I drifted toward the edge of the lot, trying to disappear into the crowd. He hated small talk, and I didn't feel like playing host. That's when I saw my dad walking toward us. He looked smaller than I remembered, or maybe just less sure of himself. He stopped in front of Cole and held out his hand. "I owe you an apology," he said. Cole looked at me, then back at him. He shook the hand, quick and polite, but didn't smile. "Appreciate that," he said. That was it. No hug. No fake warmth, just civility. My dad opened his mouth like he wanted to say more, but then shut it again. We didn't wait around. Cole nodded once, then we turned and walked away, past the tables, past the crowd, straight toward our truck. The gravel crunched under our boots again, the same as it had behind the chapel. But this time, something lifted. Not all the pain, not the history, just the weight of needing something from people who could never give it. Cole slid into the driver's seat and looked over at me. "You good?" he asked. I stared out the windshield for a second, then nodded. "For the first time? Yeah, I really think I am." We got home from the picnic and didn't say much. Just took off our boots, let the dogs out, and dropped onto the couch like we'd both been carrying bricks all day. That was our life. No grand speeches, no fireworks, just steady hands and small moments that actually meant something. A few months passed like that. Quiet rhythm, night shifts, early mornings. Long drives in the dark where we'd pass each other on the highway, headlights flashing once in recognition. He'd come home smelling like diesel and antiseptic. I'd come home stiff from wearing a vest 12 hours straight. Our house wasn't much. Just a 2-bedroom off a dirt road with uneven floors and a porch swing that groaned every time the wind hit it. Most of the furniture was secondhand. The dogs tracked in more dirt than we could keep up with. Half our plates didn't match. But the house was loud in the best way. Barking, laughter, coffee brewing, boots thumping on wood. No one pretended to be anything they weren't. That included us. Cole fixed what he could. I patched drywall when he was at work. We learned how to stretch money without it feeling like sacrifice. We didn't need upgrades. We just needed time. People in town started talking about him different. Not like the farm boy EMT anymore. That faded after the mayor's speech, after the picture got passed around, after the stories started coming out. Rescue stories, fire calls, stuff he never told anybody. One night at the diner, an older man I barely knew leaned over and said, "Your husband? He saved my grandson last year. Didn't even charge us for the ride, just handed him a Gatorade and told him to wear a helmet next time." Another time at the grocery store, a woman dropped her purse when she saw Cole. "Oh, my son still talks about you. You helped calm him down after the car wreck. He was 8. He's 17 now." He always nodded, said, "Glad he's doing well," and moved on. No big reactions. Just that quiet, grounded way he had, like he didn't need applause to know what he'd done. Meanwhile, my family still popped up now and then, a holiday card, a forwarded article about one of Bradley's promotions. Haley sent a baby shower invite once. I kept my replies short, Civil, not open. There were no more arguments. Just distance I didn't feel guilty for. They'd had their shot. I wasn't swinging the door wide open again just because they remembered I existed. One night, Cole and I sat on the porch with the dogs curled at our feet. It was late, and the stars were out, bright enough to light up the edge of the yard where our fence sagged. He had one arm around my shoulder and the other holding a warm beer. I looked at him and said, "You happy?" He didn't answer right away, just pulled me closer and said, "Yeah, I really am, same here. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't perfect, but it was ours." The porch boards creaked under my chair as I leaned back and watched the kids chase each other across the gravel. Our youngest had a rock in each hand like treasure, hair full of dust, shirt already stained. The older two yelled something about rules and didn't slow down. I sipped my iced coffee and let the sun warm my legs. It was one of those perfect Arizona mornings, dry, bright, with the scent of mesquite drifting in from somewhere down the road. Cole was out by the shed again, sleeves rolled, hat pushed back, hammer in hand. Same way he looked the day I met him, only now with a little more gray at his temples and laugh lines cut deep from years of hard days and better ones. He was fixing the corner beam that had started to rot through last winter. Hadn't asked for help, just noticed it, grabbed his tools, and went to work. That's how he was, never loud, never showy, just there. I looked down at my phone. There was a new message in the family group thread. Haley sharing photos from another gala, another fundraiser, another night in heels and glitter. Bradley had responded with some article about his company landing another contract. I didn't reply. Hadn't in a while. My dad had passed quietly the year before. Complications, the kind that sneak up and don't give you time to finish what you started. The apology never really came, just that one awkward phone call after the hero's picnic and a slow, strange silence that followed. But I'd made peace with it. The man couldn't say the words, but he saw the truth in the end. That was enough. I looked back at Cole. He wiped his brow, squinted at the nails, and adjusted the ladder. Still careful, still thorough. Still the man who never walked away. Not when things broke, not when things got heavy, not even when it would have been easier. I thought about what my father had said all those years ago. He'll never be worthy. And right then, I smiled, because Cole wasn't just worthy. He was the only one who ever stood beside me. Boots in the dirt, shirt soaked through, hands steady, ready for anything.